So let's look at culture. So we've already kind of talked about context and the importance of context. Now let's talk about culture. And many of you have seen the iceberg theory of culture, right? So in sociology classes or early government classes, they may use that metaphor. And the iceberg theory of culture is that there is an iceberg, and that the tip of the iceberg is visible, but the biggest part of the iceberg is under the water, right? So you have this little bit that you can see, and then all this other stuff that you can't see. And I want to say that model was a great model for a period of time. But as I've grown and developed, I found that particular model wanting. And so I'd like to offer you another way of thinking about that. And so it is the carrot model of culture. And what do we know about a carrot? There's the top part that we call the carrot top, or the stem of the carrot. And then there is the bottom part of the carrot, the orange part that's underground, that we refer to as the root of the carrot. And so what we recognize, or what we should recognize, is that there's a symbiotic relationship between the part that we can see above the ground, the stalk, the green part of the carrot top, and the root of the carrot, right? So there's a symbiotic relationship between those two pieces. And so the green part takes in energy from the sun, does photosynthesis, and it feeds it to the root of the carrot. While the root of the carrot not only roots or stabilizes the top part of the carrot, it also takes the nutrients from the ground and feeds it to the top. So there is a symbiotic relationship between the top and the bottom of the carrot. Well, if we think about this in terms of human behaviors or cultures, one thing that we may do is call the top of the carrot, the part that we can see, artifacts. So artifacts are all those things that are artifacts are all of those things that we can easily notice or see about a culture. We might even refer to them as cultural differences, right? So when we go to an ethnic restaurant, what we recognize that is different from our own culture may be food or music or dance or artwork, religious practices, maybe even language. Those are all what we might call artifacts. So those are all the things that we can see about a culture. Then there are those things that we can't readily see unless we're a part of that culture, and we'll call those things values, or the root of culture. And so those are all of the things that are protected, that are under the ground, not easily seen unless you're willing to work for it, right? So with the symbiotic relationship with the top of the carrot and the bottom of the carrot, with the artifacts being related to the values, what we must recognize is that artifacts are the physical representation of values. So what would happen if someone told you that your values were wrong, they were inadequate, or they weren't good enough? Or even more extreme, that they were going to take one of your values away from you? How would you respond to that? I would imagine very negatively, or very defensively. Like, these are things that are important to me. And so what we must recognize is that artifacts are the physical manifestation of values. So when we don't honor people's artifacts, then we actually dishonor their values. And when I think about a gift or building relationships, I try to give gifts that draw people closer to me and not repel them. And so when we respect or honor people's artifacts, we're actually giving them a gift that draws them closer to us. So when I see a woman in a hijab, a headscarf, not only is that a good fashion statement, but it is also a statement of values. When I see people operating or eating certain kinds of food and I'm disrespectful to that food is an artifact, a statement of their values. So if I want to be culturally competent, then I must understand the impact and the value associated with the artifacts that I see. Oftentimes I hear people complaining about young people, and particularly young people who are sagging their pants, right? Um, and one thing I want you to think about is that sagging their pants is a statement of their values. So if we come against their sagging pants and we say that they're wrong or incorrect or not appropriate, then we're actually coming against their values. However, if we teach them how their pants declare their value to other people, they may, given certain contexts, want to change how they appear to make sure that they're delivering the message that they want to deliver. So I used to be the pull up your pants police, and I would teach my students, pull up your pants, writing demerits and all sorts of stuff, until I realized that their pants sagging was a strategic advantage in their context. And so what I did was I moved from trying to police their artifacts to recognizing that within their context, that behavior, those artifacts have value. But I also let them know that if they want to operate in different contexts, if they want to move from one context to another, what it might take for them to change or adapt so that they can be as successful as they want to be in this new context. So context is extremely important, and adaptation is extremely important. And we'll talk more about that later in a different way. All right. So what we know is that artifacts are directly related to values, and values are demonstrated through artifacts. Stop.